Let's hope it's less rather than more. Now, Sandro, it's the dog's teeth. Mancuso. Brilliant. Brilliant name. Come all the way from? He's come all the way from London. I thought he'd come all the way from Brazil. Right.
As well.
Via London. So he's going to talk to us about team dynamics and about working with people. And I also recommend you check out on YouTube. I watched one of his videos recently about passion and profession. So check it out. It's really, all of these soft skills are the obstacle between your ideas reaching fruition in a team environment. And it is one of the biggest obstacles to overcome. So, enough from me.
It's a brand new keynote, okay? Mm-hmm. So, just to let you know, guys, this is a brand new keynote. It hasn't been delivered anywhere, so it's the first conference that Sandro is doing this keynote, and I really feel so privileged. Thank you very much, Sandro, for doing this. The stage is yours, man.
Thank you. Hello. It's good to be back. So I think that they've done a better job than me just to introduce this talk. Also, now that you know there's a brand new keynote, I'm very nervous because I was finishing that literally a few minutes ago. So it was a big risk for me because we are still discussing this. So I'll try to give you an idea of why this talk. Agile is 17 years old now, right? So my first Agile project was in 2004. So for 14 years I've been in this world, let's say. How many of you work in a kind of an Agile fashion, like Scrum teams or similar stuff? Okay, most of you, as I thought. So when we look back at how teams are performing, including ours, so this is what for me was more interesting because there's some echo or feedback. So when I look back in 14 years, there was one project that I worked with that I really felt that was absolutely great. And what I mean by great is the work that the teammates did with each other was really good. We are all happy. The interaction with our product owner was really good. We didn't have an Agile coach. We were just sharing that idea, but most of us had a good knowledge of Agile processes. The interaction with the business, because I'll be talking more about product owners. For me, the way that we see them today are not really business. Is there any product owner in the room? Oof. Okay, safe. Okay, so I normally criticize. Is there any Agile coaches in the room? Okay, I think I'm safe today. Normally, yeah. Let's see what I'm going to say. So this project was the only project that I really enjoyed. Not the only project that I enjoyed, but it was a true Agile project in my view. Everything worked well. But the funny thing about this project is that it was cancelled by the client after 11 months. And then we can ask, was it a success or a failure? Right? A project that starts well, everyone is happy, but it was cancelled. So I was working for a consultancy company as well. So there are many different perspectives in there. So there is the perspective of the consultancy providing a service to the client. From that perspective, the client was very happy with us, and we managed to establish this good relationship, so it was successful. From the way that we delivered things incrementally, that was successful. The client was happy with the rhythm. But business-wise, it was not successful. They were trying to sell a new product, and they realized after 11 months that that was not a business. And we pivoted a few times during that time. So is it a success or a failure? Because that's another question to ask. Because if you think that purely, well, there was an original investment of 11 months, and then a project was canceled. So was it a failure? Or maybe we discovered something fast enough for a large organization that allowed them to spend less money. So it's very difficult to discuss this. But at the same time, but this is what I wanted to talk today is, this was one project for 11 months in 14 years of agile projects that I was. 5 years ago, I started a company. We are a consultancy company. So we provide services. We have teams that goes to clients. So we work with our clients. Most of them will have their own teams. We have our own teams. Sometimes we just have people embedded in their teams. Sometimes they are embedded in ours. But the point is that we've been looking at all these different teams. And even within our teams, we have issues. All the projects that we are, there are issues one way or another. So this led us to think, why is this still like that? Why are we still having problems everywhere? There are tons of literature on Agile, on processes, estimates or no estimates, or how to deal with people, and psychology books, and Scrum, and Kanban, and tons of stuff, right? And TDD, and XP, and continuous delivery, tons of literature. But we are still failing to put all of that together. So we were discussing in the company, and that was just literally a few days ago. So a lot of things that I'm going to talk about is still not even well formed in my head yet. But what we were discussing was, would it be possible to have some sort of a working contract? And when I say a contract, it's not like a legal contract that you sign. It's a working agreement, probably is a better word, where delivery teams could have with their sponsors and stakeholders and other collaborators. So what would make this, what would this agreement look like? And so we had a session, we have one of these open space days every two months, and we had one not long ago. And then I decided to ask our guys, like our people, it's like, what would be this relationship? And then we decided, like, why don't we do this? So what if we could establish rights and responsibilities of a delivery team? What would they be? And that's how the conversation started. So I'm still trying to figure out all those things, but like, first of all, we need to discuss what a delivery team, what is the goal of the delivery team in the first place, right? So even that is already difficult. So I'm looking from, when I say delivery team, is a group of people that is providing a service, right? So basically, so there is a business that is sponsoring, that is investing on a group of people to come up with solutions. So then when you think about that, regardless if they are external, they are consultants, contractors, permanent, it doesn't matter, right? We're trying to abstract everything. So we came up with like maybe the goal of the delivery team would be continuously and efficiently enable business evolution, which is a very generic thing, but that should be the goal. So basically, it's a group of people that are always helping the business to evolve. And how would that evolution be? So one of the things is to reduce the lead time. So from people with ideas until they get into production or they are tried, we should reduce this time. So the team should enable the business to work strategically. That means they should be able to plan or to try a few things and then learn from it and then try a different thing. So come up with a proper business strategy where the team is supporting that. Focus on business outcomes. This is an interesting one because there is a difference between outcomes and outputs. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But business outcomes is something that was achieved by the business. While output, normally we focus on is like have the team finish the user story or a ticket in Jira. So those are outputs. Yeah, we finished this iteration or story points. The other one is business outcome. So I think that the team should focus on business outcome. And continuous delivery. Continuous delivery for me is an interesting one because there's a lot of things that I believe that are means to an end. And continuous delivery, even in regulated environments, even when the business doesn't want to deliver, multiple times a day because of regulations, because of whatever constraints, it is still a very good goal to achieve. So we are always ready to go to production. So that's for me what would be the goals of a delivery team. So when I look at this, most of the problems that we identified that delivery teams have, the composition of the team, the structure of the team has a big influence on it. So, for example, some small teams, they will have very low capacity. So they might not be able to provide continuity. Or so some bigger teams, they might be able to synchronize, they might not be able to synchronize their work or step on each other's toes. So you can have like teams that are just developers or teams that are cross-functionals, teams that the product owner belongs to the team or not. So the composition of the team is very important because it directly impacts or creates the problems that the team has. So for example, let's take the Scrum, because the Scrum, I'm not here to bash any methodologies, just because like Scrum has a team structure that is quite widely used. Even for people not doing Scrum, they have a very similar team structure. So I was looking, this talk forced me to actually reread the Scrum guide. So it has 19 pages only. And a lot of people talk about Scrum, and not many people actually read the Scrum guide. So I was looking at it, and one of the first things that I've seen was a Scrum team should be composed of a product owner, the Scrum master, and a delivery team. How many of you have the product owner as part of your team? Very few hands. How many of you interact with a product owner? Or the other ones, either I don't know what to do. But like, what I see often is that although Scrum prescribes that the product owner is part of the team, I very rarely see the product owner as part of the team. Normally they are from a slightly different vertical, but they are not really part of it. They don't sit together. So another thing is, Scrum teams are self-organizing and cross-functional. Self-organizing teams choose how best to accomplish their work rather than being directed by others outside the team. So that's part of the Scrum guide. So this makes us think, how are teams working today? Because quite often what I see in our teams, and of course I'm drawing from my experience, it's the problem with talks like that is that it's so complicated to talk about something that will satisfy everyone, because every single company will have a different context. If you're talking about a startup, it will be one way. If you talk a large organization, it will be a different way. So I'm trying just to abstract, and drawing from the kind of work that I do. Most of the teams that I see, including ours, they need to chase their product owner to be available to them and give them requirements and refine. Or the product owners were project managers, and they are just giving a bunch of tasks to the teams. So this directly goes against what the Scrum guide says, right? So, and then if you look at the role of a product owner should be part of the team. Don't see that very often. The product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from work of the development team. This is coming directly from the Scrum guide. So what this second point is very interesting, because it's forcing the PO to think about the return on investment. And I very rarely see people that really understand the investment that is being made on the team and the return that they're going to get from the work that the team is doing. And then the product owner is a sole person responsible for managing the product backlog. That made a lot of sense to me in the past. But the more I think about that, the more I disagree with this statement, because this puts the entire responsibility of the project in one person. And quite often, at least the product owners that we deal with, I hope that my clients don't get too upset with me, but like, but it's more in general. The product owners are not the people with the vision. They're normally just collate ideas from someone else. And when you have this person controlling the work that the team is doing, you are really limiting the solution space. So the team is not able to understand the problem and provide a wider range of solutions. There are good and bad professionals in every area, right? So the same way that we have very good developers, we also have terrible developers. But that is the same with product owners. But we, as developers, we created these, I don't know where it came from, but like we treat the product owners as if they have had all the answers. And now all the teams are just limited by a single person's ignorance. And I think that this is quite dangerous now. I very rarely see teams saying good things about their product owners in terms of, well, my product owner really understands the business, is really driving this company forward, is really driving the vision, the business vision forward. And when you don't have that, then you are limited. So the product owner is one person, not a committee and stuff. So I like the idea of having someone centralizing or organizing ideas from stakeholders. So, but I think that the team could do that. And then the product owners, for the product owner to succeed, the entire organization must respect his or her decisions. Again, this is the single point of failure that I'm uncomfortable today. And I think that a development team can offer far more to an organization than just a single person. So let's look at the backlog, another role of the product owner. So clearly expressing product backlog items. So the problem that I have with having a single person maintaining the backlog, as I said, this made a lot of sense to me in the past. Probably from where we were coming from in the past, it made sense. But now, most of the teams that I see, they have the product backlog, and then normally iteration backlogs coming from the product backlog, but they have bugs. They have a technical debt backlog. They have improvements that they want to do in the system, or operational requirements, because like that's another thing. Like we have functional requirements, and we used to talk about non-functional requirements in the past, but now we don't use the term non-functional requirements anymore. We use operational requirements. So those are requirements that we need to maintain our system in production, but those things are not aligned. So this is my issue. The issue that I have today with a single person centralizing that, mainly being outside the team, detached from the technology, because now the teams are constantly fighting. Like, there are functional things that we need to do, but there is a whole strategy from the software that is not taken into account. And worse than that, we have CTOs and architects that have a vision, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but they have a vision for the overall technical solution, and that is completely detached from the business. And this makes it very complicated for the teams to deal with that. So I think that the teams should not just have one single person doing that, but the entire team should maintain the backlog. Because then we could unite all the bugs, and we should not even have bugs, but like I always say, like if you have a bug tracking system to track bugs, you have a far bigger problem, right? So, but uniting these technical strategy, the direction of our technical product with the direction of the business should all be in the same backlog. And there's no way that one person with just a single view that is just a business would be able to do that alone. So the role of a Scrum Master, the more I think about that, the more I hate it, right? So I think that there is a Scrum Master and there is an Agile coach, right? The Scrum Master is a very, very specialized thing that is there just to make sure that the team understands the process. As I said, the Scrum Guide has 19 pages, right? I think that we are all capable to understand the principles behind that. So I personally don't think that Scrum Masters are very useful, and I think that the team can do easily that work. Although there are things that should be done by the role of the Scrum Master that are important, but you don't need a single person full-time doing that. So let's move on, because like, how much time do I have? It's like 20 to 7 that I need to finish? Is that?
10
10 to 7. You sure? Okay, cool. All right, so, because this is the first time that I'm running this talk, so let's see what's going to happen. So the Spotify model. So now organizations went crazy, right? It's like, oh, yeah, let's adopt this Spotify thing, right? So when you look at the Spotify model, it's very interesting. There are a few videos online. Look for Spotify technical excellence or whatever. You find the videos are fascinating. One thing that I like is that, so they have squads. The squads are all cross-functional teams, around 8 people. And they have a very well-defined mission. They can be technical missions, they can be functional missions. Then there are some boundaries as well. So the squad has a lot of freedom and autonomy as long as they play along with the global strategy, right? So it's a bit confusing because, but anyway, I'm going to touch some of those things later. The problem with the autonomous squads is that they end up sub-optimizing their process at the expense of the overall goal. It's very difficult to keep all the squads aligned to a single goal. So there's a lot of effort that goes into trying to do that. But one thing is important. The product owner is part of the squad. And I think that this is an extremely important, similar to Scrum, exactly the same thing. The product owner is part of the squad. So the squad has a mission where everyone, including the product owner, are accountable for. They don't have Scrum Masters. They remove the Scrum Master role to Agile coaches, and the role of the Agile coaches is to help the squads to adopt whatever process they want. That is one of the biggest differences between the two approaches. So, if you are working in an organization that decided to rename your teams, your Scrum teams to squads, and your Scrum Masters to Squad Masters, stop with this, please. Just stop. Right? So first of all, Spotify doesn't have Squad Masters. That is a made-up term that people, oh, we have a Scrum Master, what do we do with them? Oh, we have squads now, I'll call them Squad Masters. Right? So stop with this nonsense. So basically what they don't want someone that is like a master of a process. They want someone to enable the teams to work and define their own process. So let's look at a very traditional model. What I see in most organizations is a similar thing. So we have like a bunch of stakeholders. They are different people. They are sponsors. They are different people that we need to interact with. But what I see the most is a team of product owners. Quite often they belong to a different vertical in the organization. They are business. And they're completely separate from the teams. Each product owner, they have their own teams. So this is my team, this is his team and her team. But it's not they are part of the team. It's just the team that they delegate stuff to. And then we have the teams. And then we have also Agile coaches and Scrum Masters completely outside. So they are, the issue that I have with that is that Agile coaches and Scrum Masters, same as any other kind of role, they have very good ones and they have very bad ones. The Scrum Masters and Agile coaches that I see often, they were not really qualified. They were not good developers, they were not people with a vision, but they just needed a role to do something. So let's tell these people what to do. And all of a sudden what you have now, and outside this picture there is also the CTO and some places the architect as well that is pushing the teams to do certain things or using certain technologies. And when you look at this, you have everyone in the organization telling the teams what to do. And guess what? When the teams they screw up or they don't meet a deadline or they build something wrong or there is a bug, they are the ones to blame. They are accountable for everything, but they have zero autonomy to fix. And this is the problem that I see, and those are organizations that call themselves Agile. So most of the POs were project managers, and as I said, the issue that I have with them, or a lot of them, they are not the people with the vision. For me, a product owner owns the product. has an idea, has a strategy. It's like, we are going to take this organization there. We're going to have these business outcomes. We want to increase the revenue. We want to have more users, or have all these strategies to get there, all these experiments. But no, very rarely they say, oh, we need to do this feature, that feature, that feature. And they control and the agile coaches, they also control the business outputs. Oh, have you finished the user? How many story points have you achieved this iteration? How many Jira tickets have you finished? Right? So this is not a good use of anyone's time, because those are our outputs, not outcomes. So what you want is to say, are we increasing the number of subscribers? Are we getting more clients over time, or growing our client base? Are we selling more of this type of product? Are we responding faster to our clients' queries? Those are business outcomes. And very rarely I see conversations between product owners and the teams when they say, this is the actual business outcome that I expect. What they talk about is the acceptance criteria of a user story, which of course you need to have, but it's pointless on the big scheme of things. In order to fix some of these, we need to make the team autonomous. But making the team autonomous means to bring the product owner and everyone into the team. They cannot just be developers and QAs being told what to do by everyone else outside. No, those people need to be inside the team, and the accountability should be shared. So if the team doesn't achieve something, the product owner also takes the blame. It's not just the devs, it's everyone. They are working together to solve a problem, and not just telling people what to do, right? So this would be my ideal scenario, where the teams, they decide, including the product owner, they understand the needs of the business. So the product owner normally has a bigger inclination towards the business, where the development team, like Scrum prescribes, have a better understanding of technology and what can be done through technology. So if they all understand the business problems, they could come up with a bunch of solutions together. And they could, as the situation changes, because like different times, at different points in time for the business, they might need different processes. Sometimes you are in pure exploration mode. Sometimes you have deadlines you need to meet. So you need to adapt your process. And agile coaches should be consulted. So the team could go outside and say, hey, can someone come in and understand what we need, and then just give us some ideas and look at what we are doing and maybe advise us to be better, instead of having the agile coaches coming in and say, this is how you should work. And where is your Jira ticket? How many story points have you finished this iteration? But for that to work, the teams will need to be far more mature. And this is the problem that we also have. This is almost a chicken and egg, because although it's awesome to come here and say, oh, developer power and everything else, the truth is, most of the teams that I know, including ours, sometimes are not even mature enough to have a process to organize themselves in a way that they can satisfy their stakeholders. And that's when they need some support from someone that understands process, people, business, to help the teams to give that foundation. The same way that for us to develop code, we learn about design, we learn about TDD, we learn about a lot of things, and programming language or different styles of programming. So this is the foundation that we use. We also need to learn to have a business foundation that most teams, at least the ones that I deal with, don't really have at the level that I would like them to have. So this leads me to this working contract that I was talking about. So this is some of the problems that I was describing. Once we have the right structure in place, so teams and product owners, developers, product owners, and everyone else, QA, UX, whatever, all together, if we had that, what would be a good way to help or to advise those teams or to create this working agreement or working contract? So, as I said, everything that I'm going to show now are still very embryonic ideas. We are still debating that. There are things that still don't make a lot of sense in my head, or there are things that I see the limitations, but I'm gonna share with you. At least my idea here is to give you some food for thought moving forward, right? So we decided to think about this working agreement as a bunch of rights and responsibilities that a delivery team should have. Rights are demands that the delivery teams should make, and that the stakeholders, or mainly the sponsors, should comply. The thing that is counterintuitive is that as a delivery team, you can go there to the sponsors, people paying for the work that we are all doing, paying our salaries and everything else, and say, hey, I have this bunch of requirements in here that I need to comply. But the counterintuitive side of it is that this is to help the sponsor, is to help the stakeholder to achieve what they want. So in order for us to help them, they need to help us to help them. So, and I fully understand that certain things in here would not be applicable, or be very difficult to apply in certain contexts. So you need to adapt. So one of the things that we are still debating a lot is that the team should have the right to define the team structure. And this is a very complicated one, because how do we even start? So is it an internal team? Is it a consultancy team? Is it like do we need to hire people? Who are the first ones? Who is the team when there's no team? So at the end of the day, like the sponsors of the project, they will need to name some people, at least at the beginning, to say, look, this person will be our person that will be focused on the business, like a PO kind of role, and maybe ask technology or ask other people, so like, who could lead this project, or at least be the seed that I call in the technical side. So at least one technical and one business person to seed the team, and that could be recommended by the sponsors and whoever else. And from then onwards, then those people should assemble the team according to the business needs. And this is where it gets interesting, because like some companies will hire people just for that project or just for that team. So if that is the case, those people should interview everyone. Other companies will just rejuggle the people that they have. This is also common in any large organization or in a consultancy company like ours. So those people, we cannot interview, so we already have the people. But they need to have a conversation. They need to set some agreements with the people. So they should always try to welcome people that are already in the organization to work with them, but they need to set the ground rules. They need to make sure that they understand what is expected from them. So that's to discuss expectations with new members. So this was quite successful for us recently, where we had one person that joined one of our teams, and then this person was a bit unhappy after a month or two. So we learned from that, and now, before someone joins the teams themselves, or the team members, now they give a briefing to the new person, say like, this is what the project is about, this is what we expect the team members, that's how we expect the team members to behave. And then there is an agreement in there. The team should have the veto power. So if the organization or the department is trying to push someone into the team, they should say no, if they feel like. So access to business strategy and stakeholders. So normally the people with the vision are very busy and they have loads of ideas and problems that they want to solve, but they don't have the time. So they would assemble a team. This team needs to understand what they want to achieve, what the business wants to achieve, and then work towards that goal. So quite often, the business has a few ideas and directions, but that will be given by multiple stakeholders. So the team should have the right to structure that and to make sure that they will only work from a single source of activities. And all the stakeholders will need to comply. As I said, this is a product backlog in Scrum. right? So there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things. We're just trying to abstract. What would those things be, right? So the team should be empowered to do that. But then you can ask, quite often it's very difficult. You have all these different stakeholders to agree what is priority. Each one has a priority. So they need to escalate to the sponsor and say, look, the only way to bring those people together is if you create an overarching goal. All the individuals have different goals. So you need to create an overarching goal that is the company goals, and then align everyone to those strategies. But they need support from that. So define the working process. The process should be tailored to what they want to achieve as a team. And that is aligned to the stakeholders. So the team should speak to the stakeholders and say, like, how would we like to work? The team should say, we have some needs, you have some needs. So instead of just adopting or having an agile coach and say, that's your cookie cutter process, the team interacts with the sponsor and say, let's sit down and agree a working process. And we will discuss the mutual needs that we have, and then we will address, and we are going to iterate and keep analyzing that. So, but there are certain things that should remain, that are important. The team should have the right for sustainable pace, right? They should have the right to have a quick feedback loop, because if they don't, someone is paying for their services, and someone will be very upset when things don't go as expected. So they have the right to get this feedback loop. So they should have the right to have visibility and transparency from the stakeholders in terms of their needs, in terms of budget constraints, in terms of deadlines and things like that. They should know why they are being asked to do certain things. And always be ready to go to production and work together on agreements. I need to move on, as I said, like I had no, you know that expression of, oh, let's test in production. That's what I'm doing with this talk, right? So I have no idea how long it would take, so I need to rush a bit. This is for me one of the most important rights that a delivery team should have. And that's the rights of not being accountable for things that they do not control. The interesting thing about this is that this right forces us to analyze the entire process. So for example, they should not be accountable for time when they're not controlling estimates. So this forces business not to make decisions independently. They cannot just commit to stuff without consulting the team, because the team has rights not to be accountable for time. And the team, remember that the team includes the product owner. The team has a business representative in there. It's part of the team. So the team should not be accountable for production if they cannot control operations. There's a lot of companies where operations is a completely separate thing. So you cannot blame us that we have issues. Like, how many teams I know that are struggling to get an environment? We want a test environment that is production-like, or a pre-prod environment. And God, for Jesus, there's tons of approvals and stuff, and they never had because there's someone in production services or operations needs to provide that, and they are not going to do that. So we cannot blame us. So as I said, as soon as you start looking at these things, or being slow when technologies are being pushed, so it forces us, as soon as we remove the accountability for the team, if they're not, remove the accountability for things that they do not control, then people say, well, hold on a sec, we need you to really understand this. So who is accountable then? Well, that's a good question. So let's rethink about the entire process. So I think that the team should have the rights to understand the business goal, because my view is in modern teams, technology and business are part of the same thing. One thing is to have business ideas for features. Another thing is to know what technology can do for organizations. We are seeing a lot of initiatives in big data, in AI, and things like that. So a lot of technologies, or development teams are creating solutions that the business didn't even think about. So if we understand the business goals, then we as a team, technology and business, we could provide better solutions. And one of the techniques that I like the most for that is impact mapping as well. So quite often, the way that things are prioritized in a backlog are very arbitrary. And if you look for impactmapping.org from Gojko Adzik, it's a fascinating tool that you can set a goal, and then for this goal you have who can contribute to the goal, and then what you need to provide to those people to contribute to the goal, and then how we would provide that behavior for those people to contribute to the goal. So you can map according to impact that each feature will have to the overall goal. And that's a much better decision, much better way of discussing backlogs than just having one single person. So autonomy to create solutions. This is a very interesting one because there are spheres of influence. So certain teams they should have the autonomy to do things as long as no one else is impacted. So we need to be careful with which rights we want, because if you are a single team, then you can do whatever because you are the team. But like if you have quite a few teams, how far do you go? But you should have the right to create solutions, but that should be constrained by the rights of other teams as well. So this is much easier to achieve when you start decentralizing our architecture or our solution. And that's why so many companies are now moving from monoliths to microservices, because this enables teams to work in isolation and to evolve parts of the business at different speeds. So control either time and scope. So some agile material, you'll find a triangle. And this triangle normally has cost, time, and scope. So they say cost, time, and scope, you need to pick two. You cannot have three. And in the middle, you have quality. Quality is non-negotiable, right? So this is an interesting one because for me, the cost, there is two types of costs. It's far more complicated than that. I'm just simplifying. The cost of the team is always fixed, right? The team costs X amount of money per month. But then there's the cost of the solution as well. This is a slightly different type of cost. But the team should be, so the cost of the solution should be negotiated with the business, but the team should have the right to control either time or scope. The problem is that there are some made-up deadlines. Some people just say, we want to deliver that in 2 months' time. Why? Because I said so. Right? So yeah, screw that. So no. Right? So, but there are other deadlines. There are fixed deadlines. So regulated environments. There were certain regulations that will come into play at a certain date, and you need to comply, period. It's an external thing. Or you have things like Black Friday and Christmas where retail will need to tackle that. If you miss that window, just next year. So we need to distinguish what is a real deadline and what is just a made-up deadline. And then quality that people say that is non-negotiable is not exactly that simple. Quality is non-negotiable within the constraints. So, and time and cost and budget and everything else are constraints as any other one. So we need to work with those constraints and do the best we can within those constraints. So this was we are still debating. I'm still trying to make my mind about this. There are tons of things that will block a team or impact a team. Politics, external blocks, and multiple stakeholders. So how can a team deal with that? They need support. But what kind of support? Because before I tried, they should be empowered to do with those things. Well, empowered how? They cannot restructure an organization. They cannot just force a supplier to have a contract signed with the company to do something. So, but they need some support from the sponsors. I won't go into the details. I probably won't have time to cover half of the things that I wanted. Exchange feedback regularly. This is a right. The only way that we know that everyone can be happy and make sure that everyone is on the same page is the right for feedback. And the feedback is not only between team and stakeholders, but among the teams themselves. This is a problem that we are having in a flat hierarchy. When there's no hierarchy within the team members are struggling to give feedback to each other. Every now and again, a team member will start behaving in a way that is upsetting the other team members. And the lack of hierarchy, I don't think hierarchy is a solution for any of this, but they should create a feedback mechanism that is known to everyone so that that feedback is regularly given. So, and work with respectful teammates, right? So they have a right to do that. Experiment and learn. So they should have the right to do that as well. This is slightly different from time to learn. There are different types of learning. There are things that are targeted, that I call targeted learning. We have goals that we need to achieve. There are possible solutions or possible ideas to achieve those goals. So we're going to have dedicated time for that. Time to learn functional programming or Scala or whatever language is a completely separate thing. And I have my questions about how this should be done, but I'm not going to target this one in here. But at least the ones that is focused, the team should have the rights to do that. So it's nice to talk about rights. We all feel good about it. Wow, that's power to us, right? It's great to say, wow, I want all of that. I want to be the king of the world. But that would not work. Humans cannot collaborate well if you don't balance rights and responsibilities. So we need to talk about responsibilities. Let's try to go through a bit quicker. First thing is to understand that teams should provide a professional service. What do I mean by that? That is someone paying for the work we do. Not only as individuals, but as a team. They're investing, right? And with that, we should provide an honest, transparent, and respectful service. Regardless if you're a permanent employee, contractor, doesn't matter how you are hired. But we should provide a professional service. We are there to provide a service. It doesn't matter what we think about ourselves. When we have a client relationship, they're saying 5 minutes. There's no way in hell that I can finish that in 5 minutes, but I'll rush. So, but the important thing is that we need to provide a professional service. It doesn't matter what we think about ourselves, that we are great, we're doing a good job. If our clients or sponsors, they don't feel this way, it's our job to make sure that they feel this way. Their opinion is what it matters at the end of the day when you are providing a service. So act in the business interest. So guide, advise, make sure that we consider a good range of solutions, right? So, and don't avoid difficult conversations, right? So this doesn't mean, so for example, act in the business best interest, we should not just say what they want to hear. We should really feel that it's our money, that it's our company, and we want to provide the best service we can. So that's what it means by business best interest. So that is tied to maximize the value provided. Very few teams, I actually cannot think in a single team that understands the size of the investment that their clients, their sponsors are making and what is expected from them in return. I was even thinking about the idea, it might be a little bit too radical, but I think that would be interesting. I heard, I think there is one team somewhere that does that. They have like in their, you know those radiators, like they show builds and stuff, they also have the cost. On a daily basis, it shows, it increments the cost that that team has for the organization. And then you could try to analyze, okay, in a month, someone spent, God knows, like 100,000 whatever. How much value did we provide for the money that was invested on the team? I don't know a single product owner, let alone the teams themselves or the developers, that could understand the kind of return on investment that is expected from them. Deliver value continuously. Same thing. So we should always make sure that we are working in small increments and constantly providing value, right? So this is what we are paid for, right? So to constantly deliver value to our clients and adapt as things change. Enable stakeholders to plan. There is a whole movement of no estimates. So I don't want to go into the detail of what no estimate means, if it really means no estimate or it means not to estimate the small tasks in hours and stuff. But what is important for me in a more abstract way, that when you are providing a service, you need to allow the person paying for the service to plan. The same way that when I buy a service, for example, I had builders coming to my house to do some work. I cannot just take this, how long is it going to take? I don't know. Keep paying me while I'm here. How long is it going to take? Don't know. I'll be here doing stuff. You just tell me. So that doesn't work like that. Personally, we would not do that. So why would we push the people paying us to do that? So we would need to, I'll take questions later on, right? Because there's no way that I can finish that in time anyway, but I'll speak to you outside. So we should enable our stakeholders to plan. So help them and see whatever that means. If you need to give high-level estimates, we don't need to commit to them, but give ballpark and stuff. So align business and technology strategy. Quite often this is detached. There's a lot of business tasks and a lot of things that the CTO and architects want to do or even the teams want to do. And there is a constant fight. If I work on this one, I don't get the other one done, or if I keep getting this other done, I keep accumulating debt. So you have the responsibility to join together. Remember, technology and business are in the same team. Commitment to excellence, that's again within constraints. So we have a responsibility to be committed. Provide continuity. That's interesting because this also reflects on the size and structure of the team. The team should not decrease in performance because John is on holidays or Mary is sick. So in the great scheme of things, on a monthly basis, that continuity should exist. People will leave the company, other people will join in. We need to have a structure that copes with that. So there are loads of things in there. There are loads of ways to cater for that. There are loads of techniques that we can apply within the team to guarantee continuity. Make sure team is always performing. That's, again, the team self-inspecting. So they are saying the time is up. So I just need 2 hours and I'll be done. Yeah? So create respectful environments. So that's self-explanatory. So the point that I want to make is this one. When we talk about them individually, we focus in one single thing. But it gets very interesting when we list them and put them next to each other. And that's the contract, that's the agreement that I was trying to put forward. It's fine for us to say, I want autonomy to do things. Yeah, great. But how does it impact all the responsibilities you have? You have autonomy to create your solutions as long as you maximize the value provided. You deliver value continuously. So then you can do. Or you align yourselves to the overall strategy. Right? So we want to experiment and learn, again, as long as you provide the value. So these kind of things, they need to be hand in hand. They help each other to balance. Individual and collective needs are the same. A lot of people say, I want to work from home, or I want these kind of benefits. Well, the rights and responsibilities apply like that as well. This is, for me, is one of the roots of the problems that we currently have. And this is part of the things that I'm working at the moment. The intersection, we like to say that because we are working on an agile fashion, because we have a product owner, we are aligning business and technology, and that is a lie. Right? So the intersection between business and technology are just the top items in the product backlog. That's when they intersect. But there's a whole world of product design that's completely hidden from technical teams, and there's a whole world of software design and architecture that is completely hidden from business. And while we have while the intersection between the two is just the top items of the backlog, we will always have those problems that I've been describing. So I think that if we start moving away from delivery teams that take orders and we just try to measure the progress and start moving towards more like teams that are identifying problems and solving problems. This came from a keynote from Mary Poppendick a couple of years ago. That was a fascinating keynote in the ACE. Look for Mary Poppendick, ACE 2016, you find her keynote. It's called Friction, which is a great keynote. And she talks about moving away from delivery teams to problem-solving teams. Moving away from backlogs to ideas, problems that we want to solve. Moving away from delivery to outputs, moving to outcomes and things like that. And that's what I was talking about. There is a big intersection between product design and software design. This is what I'm currently working on. Hopefully next year I'll dedicate more time to it. But I think the phases that we do at the high-level product design, they relate to the phases of high-level architecture and so on and so forth. All the way to get to the user stories and tasks, there's a big intersection between product design and architecture. And I'm still trying to map them and understand what they are. So have a look at this SEMAT Essence from Ivar Jacobson. It's a very interesting book. It's a thinking framework to unite all of this. It's a bit dry, but it's an interesting food for thought. So you can have rights as long as you have responsibilities. And we need to start working as a real single team, and not just product owners' backlogs. If you are interested in test-driven development, coding and stuff, I recorded a full 14 hours of coding with Uncle Bob, pairing and talking about outside TDD, class TDD, and how to build applications. So you can go to the Clean Coders website and find the series, which is quite cool. Thank you.